I'm Michele Hall, and I'm his wife, the other half of Howard Hall Productions.
I'm Howard Hall, and we make wildlife films. Some of my best experiences have been with whales, most memorable experiences. There's something about whales, in addition to the fact that they're, really, really big, but you get the sense that when you're with these animals, they're looking back at you with more than just, is he good to eat or not, curiosity. So you really get a feeling for you're looking into the eye of something that's got a lot more going on back there than a fish does. And in almost every case that I've filmed whales underwater, it's because the whale came to me and was curious and was willing to hang around. I count on that. I don't try to swim up to whales because even when they're not moving, they're moving faster than I can move. So we put ourselves in a positions to be conveniently available if a whale is nearby, and if they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. And I guess one of the most memorable experiences I had was with a gray whale off Anacapa Island in the California Channel Islands. It was in July, which is a weird time of the year to see gray whales. And we were down on the bottom, Bob Cranston and I, looking for sarcastic fringe heads, which is this fish that lives in a wavy turban snail shell. And we weren't finding any, so the whole dive was sort of a bust, and it was beginning to look like, since the whole day was devoted to filming these fish, the whole day might be a bust, and it was getting a little bit depressing. And then we got a call on the underwater communication system. One of the guys on the boat called down to us and said, he said, I don't know if you care or not, or whether it's important or not, but I see a gray whale in the kelp about 50 feet away, and he's been there for about a half an hour, and I'm like, let's go, but he wouldn't get off the call, and he kept talking and talking. And finally, when he cut and said over, I said, put on the 5.9 lens, put the filter on, we're coming back. And we swam back to the boat as quickly as we could. We're wearing rebreathers, which allow you to be very silent underwater and not make any bubbles. We drop those on the deck because the last thing in the world you want when you're diving with whales is to be invisible. Otherwise, they don't know where you are. So we put on regular open circuit. We jump back in with the camera and down on the bottom, and feeling a little bit foolish now because here you are on the bottom with a camera. There's nothing around, and I thought, well, I've got to give him time to find us if he's curious. Chances are he's not going to be curious. So about 30 minutes goes by, and I'm just about ready to turn around and go back to the boat, and all of a sudden this whale swims up to me. And this whale swam up to us, and it stayed with us for 4 hours. We were able to dive with it for 4 hours. And during that time, it would feed on the bottom and do all kinds of amazing behaviors that I was thrilled to catch on film. And of course, when you're filming an animal that big that's moving, you have to work really hard to swim, be in position, grab a shot, swim really hard to get over here. And by the time I was getting low on air, I was exhausted. I was really tired out. The camera was out of film, so I was out of film, and I just quit swimming. I just stopped, knelt down on the sand, and said, okay, see you later, thanks for the show. And the whale swam away, and then it stopped, and it looked back, and I could tell exactly what it's thinking. Are you coming or not? And it stopped. I just stayed on my knees, and it turned around, and it came back, swam right at me, swam up to within about 3 feet, and laid in the sand right next to me. So I'm on my knees. Its eye is now at eye level, and its chin is literally on the sand 2.5 feet away. And it's just looking at me, dead motionless. And its nose was right there. And I thought, do I maybe give him a little itch on his nose? Would you do that? It's almost irresistible. So I thought, well, you probably shouldn't touch the marine life, but I just give him a little rub on the nose. And so I reached over, I scratched his nose a little bit, and instead of moving away or flinching, he moved a little bit toward me, and I scratched a little bit more. And it was obvious to me that he liked it because he was pressing up against me. And like a dog will put its nose up next to your leg and push on you when it wants attention, the whale liked it. And so I, scratched his nose. And, and you have to ask yourself, if you're in that situation, you've got a whole whale laying on the bottom next to you and you're scratching its nose, how long would you continue doing that before it became boring? How long?
I know the answer to this one,
About 30 seconds. And it's time to do something else. So I stopped scratching his nose and thought, okay, fine, what's next? He wasn't done. So when I stopped scratching his nose, he moved closer and he went like that with his nose, and which lifted me up off the bottom. And when I didn't reach out and scratch anymore, I was kind of going, whoa, what's this? And then he came closer and he did that again, and it flipped me up over his head, and my mask filled with water, largely because I was laughing so hard. And I ended up rolling down the back of this whale as he's moving forward, and ended up laying on the sand next to him as he turned around and started swimming away. And then he realized I wasn't going to be any more entertainment, and he headed off into the distance. But that was a memorable moment when he started nosing me to get more attention.
That is a once in a lifetime
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whales don't do that kind of stuff very often.
No, that it was extremely unusual.
Now you're on open circuit?
I was on open circuit because if I'd been on the rebreather, it would have been harder for the whale to find me. And the whole point is, they'll come to you when they're curious. Most of the time they're not curious, and you go down underneath that boat and he's not going to come around. But if they're going to be cooperative, if you're going to be able to film them, it's because they got curious and they come to you.
But how'd you make an open circuit scuba tank last for 4 hours? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I made multiple dives before I was exhausted. Yeah. I shot up 2 or 3 rolls of 16 millimeter film, and I shot up a roll of still images on my still camera. So I made a bunch of dives. He was there for 4 hours. It took me that long to get so tired that I just couldn't swim anymore.
Change film, change tanks, go back, he'd still be there, dive some more.
Yeah.
That's pretty
of course,
awesome.
when I was up changing film, a bunch of my crew members were down there playing with a whale too. So we had a similar experience with southern right whales in Patagonia, and it was another memorable experience. But in Patagonia, the water's quite cold, very windy on the surface. It's so windy that it's just big white caps. And I was down the bottom, swimming over toward what looked like a female and her calf. And I got over there, and the calf was kind of sleeping underneath the female's chin, and she was just laying there, totally immobile. And I got over and I started shooting a little bit of stuff. The calf waked up, swam over and swam around me a number of times, and was very cooperative. And the mother never moved. And I shot for a little while, and the battery in my camera died, which is just stupid. I should have put a fresh battery on. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. I shot up about 3 minutes of film, battery's dead, so I had to go back to the boat. I didn't want to swim on the surface because it was too rough up there, so I started swimming across the bottom toward the boat, kind of cursing at myself that I hadn't put a fresh battery in. This was such a good opportunity. And I'm swimming across the sand, swimming across the sand, swimming across the sand, and I just had this really weird sensation that something was not quite normal. And it was just like, when you get that sensation, somebody's looking at you, you're being watched. I kind of had that sensation. And I turned to look to my left, and the nose of that female whale was literally a foot away from my shoulder. And how is it that an animal that's 45 feet long, weighs God knows how many tons, and her baby could be that close to you and you not hear anything? Not know. She'd been following me all the way back to the boat. She was there the whole time. And as I kept going, she's just right there. I'm going back to the boat a little bit harder now, and she's just right there next to my shoulder, a foot away. And when we got back to the boat, I started to go up, and she swam up underneath the boat, wouldn't let me on the boat. But eventually I managed to get back on the boat, changed film, went back and did a lot more filming. But that was I'll remember that moment when I looked over and saw the nose of that whale literally a foot away. I thought I was going to be run over by a truck.
Did you jump about a foot and a half? Ah!
I jumped right out of my dry suit, which is hard because it's got a waterproof zipper.
So did she wait for you while you changed film?
Oh, yeah, she was there the rest of the day. She just stayed around the boat and entertained all the divers. And we had 3 divers in the water, and she's on the surface most of the time, so the logical thing is to film them up on the surface, but it's a little bit rough and hard to hold the camera still up there. So I told the other two guys that came to the surface, said, let's go to the bottom. And we all three went down to the bottom, and now we're down 40 feet, and she's up there next to the boat. And I just said, wait, you know. Sure enough, she came down with her calf, swam right up between all the divers and stopped, you know, right with us, and we could scratch her eyebrow, and that was just great.
Hey everyone! Thanks for watching our latest episode all the way to the end. Hit that subscribe button now so you won't miss our next episode.